I'm putting mom on the stand in the 11th hour. Last thing
Right, but this
jurors should know.
This
and
is
now
the
we're on the defense's side.
Right.
I thought it was like a little not big finish.
Yeah. But, speaking of mom, this is kind of an interesting tidbit. They showed some, particularly gruesome photos today in the hearing. And in the past, his mom, Peggy, John O'Keefe's mom, the victim in this case that often gets overshadowed, she usually leaves the room. Today she stayed in the room. She kind of just she hung her head down. And I thought that was worth noting, that she was in the front row and she was kind of hanging her head down. And I'm not sure, I didn't catch if she looked up at all to look at the photos, but she did stay in the room this time. I thought that was interesting.
And she's very anti-Karen, right? So,
of course.
She's been, obviously she's grieving. It seems like their relationship was far from perfect, but also not here nor there, maybe. There didn't seem to be a super contentious backstory to the both of them. But it certainly is now. And, again, she's grieving so deeply. There's no question.
So as a reminder, the defense is arguing that John O'Keefe's death was a cover-up. There's this big conspiracy going on. And that John O'Keefe was killed inside that house by his cop buddies and then staged to sort of frame Karen Reed, and that she did not back up and hit him with her car. They broke the tail light, they did all this stuff to kind of cover their butts, right? That's basically the argument. And there is support for this. Now, again, this is all the defense's strategy. They say the taillight damage on her SUV does not match the trauma to John O'Keefe's body, which, the supporting witnesses testified today.
Okay.
That's true. That's according to the defense. The Commonwealth says otherwise, right? They also say that the cuts on John O'Keefe's arm are more consistent with being bit by a dog, not scraped by a broken taillight. And they also say the timeline is off. The prosecutors say that Karen Reed dropped him off at approximately 12:30 and accidentally hit him while backing up. Well, Reed's SUV black box showed a backup 24 miles per hour at 12:30, which is interesting. The defense is arguing that there wasn't enough time for her to hit him and drive away all in 1 minute. So they're saying the timing is off. I'm saying,
what do you make of that as our analyst? I feel like you know this info so well. What does that mean?
To me, it shows me that she's guilty, and I believe she's guilty. But I will say that the investigation was so shoddy and terribly done that I don't know that the Commonwealth is going to be able to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right, even if that happened, just the shady shenanigans, that clearly went on, because we're seeing these text messages within law enforcement. John O'Keefe, the victim, as we've talked about before, was, he was a part of the Canton police, and it's a big job, and that, air quotes, brotherhood is real. His buddies, they were all members of either the, ATF, or of, the local police with him, or retired. This was his crew. So either they framed Karen Reed, or they wanted to pile on to Karen Reed. I don't think it's possible to dispute the fact that there wasn't some shenanigans. And I hate to say that.
The other thing too is that the defense has pointed out missing or wiped data from phones of the people inside the house at night.
Well, everybody, the cops, they all were like,
right.
our phone went dead.